Yo, what's going on people? It's your boy Huncho back at you again with another video, and so for this next one we've got to head over to Ilford, where a man has recently gone on to be jailed over a killing that happened back in 2019, but I thought I'd share this story with you guys because there's hardly been any coverage of this situation. Now, from the few articles that I've been able to string together, we'll take a look into this story, but again, there isn't too much details surrounding this case, so we'll put forward the information that I've been able to gather. So this story starts at the end of October of 2019, and 36-year-old Linas Gasiunas, along with 57-year-old Vladis Radionovs, had immigrated to the UK in the years prior for separate reasons. They're both originally from Latvia. It's unsure why Linas had came to the UK, but from what we know of Vladis, it's believed he had came to the UK after his business collapsed in Latvia. In Latvia, Vladis had gone to university, served in the military, and even played for an ice hockey team, but I'm unsure at what level. When his business collapsed years ago and his marriage ended up breaking off, he decided to move to the UK in the hopes of a better life and better work, but ended up only doing jobs here and there, and ultimately this left him living day by day. The little money he did have for himself would go to his children in Latvia to support them for school and university, and to top this all off, in early 2019 he had been diagnosed with cancer. In August of 2019 he was expected to go back to Latvia but ultimately never did, but it's unsure why he didn't make the trip, and by the time October had came around he was living in a garage at a property on Eastern Avenue in Ilford. You see, both Linas and Vladis had been living in this garage along with two other males who haven't been named in reports. The living conditions wasn't the best, to say the least, and what happened was Linas had been out the day that Vladis had actually moved into this garage because he had been staying elsewhere at that point. When Linas eventually arrived back at the garage though, everyone had been drinking, including himself, and Vladis was on Linas's bed passed out and had urinated in his bed. Linas claims he tried to wake him up but he couldn't, and even after attempts to shake him up, he still couldn't get him out of bed. On the second day, Linas claims to have not spoken to him at all, and then on the 1st of November 2019, the third day, after an alleged argument about the state of the garage they had been living in, it is believed that Linas had punched Vladis to death. Vladis was then dragged out of the garage with other people who Linas refused to name, and they drove his lifeless body, which was half naked, to a farmyard lane. His body was later discovered by a woman by the name of Laura Weaver, who thought he was actually a dead animal before realising it was a human man. Eventually though, Linas would go on to be arrested in connection with this incident and would go on to be charged with manslaughter and removal of a body. Linas claimed though that he killed Vladis, but it was in self-defense, but he did admit to removal of the body, but because he had denied the manslaughter charge, a trial was to go ahead, which is recently just wrapped up. From the small details that we get from the trial, the timeline which I've just explained to you and the small backstory into Vladis had been told to the court. Talking of the first time that Linas had met Vladis, of course, if you guys remember, on that first time when they met, Linas had actually been out and hadn't met Vladis before, and remember Vladis had urinated in his bed. Well, Vladis would go on to tell the court, quote, he pissed himself and that he initially tried to wake him up but couldn't, and even after he shook him, he tried to wake him up, but it didn't wake him up. He also went on to say that he tried to stay away from the garage because it was that messy, because there was loads of rubbish around and there was loads of mess. And then talking of the argument which led up to Vladis's eventual death, it was heard that Linas said that he was being nice and he said, tidy up, don't be a pig. But after a fight broke out, Linas said that he double punched him, which meant that he punched him twice, one after another, and I'm guessing from the pathologist's report it did match up to his testimony because of the outcome of this case, which we're about to get into in a minute. It is believed though that after these punches were thrown, he pretty much was either dead or almost dying at that point. After a trial, he was cleared of manslaughter by a majority verdict and was sentenced to 32 months in prison because again he admitted to removing the body. And so a pretty sad eventual end to Vladis's life, to be honest with you, because he'd been living day to day just trying to make ends meet, and on top of that he had only just been diagnosed with cancer and then eventually would go on to be killed. But it is pretty sad to see grown men living in these conditions when they genuinely are trying to work, because again, from reports, everyone involved in this situation did in fact have a job, but again, they was just homeless because they couldn't find anywhere to live. I'm guessing because maybe of the house prices of the local areas of where they were working. And on top of that, with the jobs that they had as well, it seemed like they only got work here and there as and when it came to them. But yeah, I just do want to take this time out just to say rest in peace to Vladis, and I do want to send my condolences over to his family and friends who have been affected by his death. But let me know what you guys think of this down in the comment section below. Give the video a little like, and if you want the latest drill, street and music news out of the UK, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. It's been your boy Huncho, and I'm out.